Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and welcome to day one of the 12 days of Christmas. I did this last year, and I really enjoyed this because I love Vlogmas/Bookmas, but I am not capable of filming one video a day for 24 days. It's just a lot, and I can't keep up with that schedule, unfortunately. But there's so much that I want to share with you at the end of the year / beginning of the next year, all my favorites, all my plans, all of those kinds of things. It's so fun to share those things. So instead, I do the 12 days of Christmas, where we start on Christmas Day, and then we do the 12 days, and each day there's a video that's coming out. So you can expect to see some TBRs that I have planned for the 2024. You can expect to see some of the best books, and I also had included like a question box on Instagram and also like a post on the community tab here on YouTube asking you for suggestions, and you'll see some of those suggestions as well. So I'm really excited about the next 12 days. But today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be kind of reviewing what my goals were for 2023. Did I meet those goals? And what goals do I have for 2024? If you're more interested in one than the other, I will have timestamps in the description below, so you can skip if you're more interested in next year and not really a reflection on this year, however you want to do it. Okay, so for 2023, I had goals both for my channel and also reading goals, and I shared both. So goals for my channel that I had, first of all, was to start a Patreon, and I did do that starting in January of this year, and have really enjoyed it, and it has been a lot of fun. So thank you to all of you who have been a patron, if you currently are, or if you were at one time and are not now. Like, I've had some people duck in and out, and it's just been fun. Anytime that you have been there, it has been so appreciated, and I just thank you for your support. And it has been a really fun endeavor, even though it was one that I was really nervous about because it was something new and a different platform and a different way of kind of creating, and it's evolved over the year what it looks like compared to what it was in January, and it's been a really fun learning process. Thank you to those of you especially who have been there from the beginning and watched me kind of fumble my way through. Another goal was to have my own readathon, and I did do that. I did that in May for Ella Montgomery May, and that was just a blast. I had quite a few co-hosts join me. We did an original tag, we did a read along, we did reading sprints, we had a discussion of Kilmeny of the Orchard, which is the book that we read. We had a bingo board. We had a lot, and it was a lot of preparation, a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that. Another goal was to have more live reading sprints on my channel, and I wanted to do one a month. And oh boy, that did not happen. I should look and see how many I did. I feel like I know there's one that I did. No, there's two, because I'm pretty sure I did one with Claire and I did one with Stephanie. I don't know if I did any just on my own. I don't know. I did not do one a month. I've done some live reading sprints for my patrons when we do weekend reading challenges, but I have not done many on my channel at all. For reading goals, one of them was that I wanted to have less annual TBRs. So I was having TBRs with 5-star predictions and nonfiction TBRs and classics TBRs and reader read project TBRs, and it was a lot and it was difficult for me to keep up with. I did stick to less annual TBRs. I don't know whether or not that really helped me, quite honestly, because I still ended up overscheduling myself, and that was kind of the goal of having less TBRs, was to be able to mood read and jump into more things. I did jump into more things, but I for sure did not mood read as much. I did do quarterly 5-star predictions for every quarter except the fourth quarter of 2023, and that worked really well for me, and I really enjoyed that. The only reason I didn't do it for fourth quarter is because out of the books that I had planned for fourth quarter, there was none of them that I was super excited about, and I'm like, I think these are going to be 5 stars. I was like, and I didn't want to just arbitrarily pick like 3 or 4 books to throw on there, because that's what I did. I did 3 or 4 books and did smaller quarterly 5-star predictions, and that worked really well for me. I also wanted to read more out of my comfort zone nonfictions, and by that I meant more historical or scientific or memoir nonfictions as opposed to just spiritually enriching nonfictions, which I don't have any problem reading, and I typically read quite a few of those every year. I don't know how well I did with this. I read some. I would say that probably over half of the nonfictions that I read were more out of my comfort zone, but I don't think that I read very many of them, unfortunately. So, and that is probably partly because I didn't do a nonfiction TBR, but I also was just having trouble fitting that in anyway, and found that when I was picking things for a nonfiction TBR, I would pick things that I was really interested in at the time when I made my TBR, and then I wasn't later. And so I just like left that open, and as a result, didn't really read too many of those. I also wanted to finish more series because I started a ton of series in 2022, and I didn't do too badly at this one. I did read quite a bit more of the Stormlight Archive. I finished the Farseer trilogy. I started and finished the Arc of a Scythe trilogy. I read a lot of manga. I read a lot of Spy Family and a lot of Attack on Titan. And I might actually be up to date on Spy Family. I might not be. I'm up to date on like the copies that my library has. And then Attack on Titan, I'm definitely not. I'm like maybe like a quarter of the way through that one, but there's like over 30 volumes of Attack on Titan. And I did read through volume 7. So that's not too bad. So I made progress on a lot of series that I started as well. But I know there were some series I mentioned in that video that I did not continue on with, like the Gentleman Bastard series, where I loved The Lies of Locke Lamora. I did not pick up book 2 for the entire year of 2023. And I really want to, but at this point, I probably need to go back and read The Lies of Locke Lamora because it's been like a year and a half. My last goal was to reduce my physical TBR, and I just want to laugh looking at this. Like, maybe I just need to not even try anymore. I took way too many trips to McKay's, and that's part of my issue right there. But I will say that almost every time that I went to McKay's, I brought a huge bag full of books. So I was continually unhauling throughout the year. And that's a really good thing. And I do think that overall, I was more picky about what I brought in, because I tend to be less picky in general about classics, because I'm like, well, if I don't read those within the next year or two, I am going to read them eventually. For the most part, I feel that way. But there were certain things that I brought in by authors that I hadn't read before, and I kept finding their books for inexpensively. Umberto Eco, and I hadn't read anything by him, and I kept buying books, and then I read a book by him and I didn't like it that much. So now I have 3 others of his books, and I plan to read one of them in 2024, and if I don't like it, I'm getting rid of all of them. Because I'm just like, oh, just because it's a good deal doesn't mean you need to buy it. But I have very limited library resources around me because of where I live. And so when I see a book for a really good deal that maybe I can't find easily at my library, I tend to snatch it up. So I did do better overall this year in terms of picking up books that I'm for sure interested in, or authors that I know that I love. But there are some books which are going to be on my Read or Rid project this year that I bought in 2023. And a lot of times books on that list are books that I've had for a long time sitting on my shelf, and I'm like, am I ever going to read these? But I have several books that I bought in 2023 that I'm like, why did I buy this? I don't even know if I'm going to like this. And granted, I paid like 10 cents for them or something crazy like that. But just because a book's 10 cents doesn't mean I have to buy it. So overall, I would say that my goals weren't too bad in 2023. So I have some goals for 2024. I don't have a lot of channel goals. I did do like kind of a lot of changes last year in terms of restructuring when I'm scheduling videos. And I think that something that I embraced throughout the year that wasn't a goal was I was a lot more gracious with myself when I needed to miss, because there were a lot of weeks where I was putting out 1 video instead of 2 for like the second half of the year, because I had surgery. There was a bunch of sicknesses that hit my family. There was a lot of like, my husband had surgery. Also, there was a lot of just like crazy busyness and things that were happening, and it made it kind of difficult for me to keep up with some of my filming, which I hate because I love being on here and I love BookTube, but I just was more gracious with myself, and I'm so glad that I wasn't like so stringent with myself and just beat myself up. So that's something that I definitely want to continue in 2024, but I also want to carve out more time, I guess, like maybe a little bit better of time management in general, where I have specific days that I'm like, I am going to post on Instagram, or I am going to make sure that I respond to all my YouTube comments within like a day of the video coming out. Because there were definitely weeks where it was like 3 days until I did. And that's okay. Like, I want to be able to hold that loosely, if that makes sense, because I don't want to sit there and like feel bad because I'm sick and I'm just not getting to something, or something's going on. Like, I need to prioritize my real life over my online presence, if that makes sense. So that's not even really a good goal, I guess, because it's like one that I want to hold very loosely. But in general, I just want to be continuing to be gracious with myself, but also trying to kind of almost like make a schedule to carve out more time to be more active on social media, including YouTube. Something that I've loved this year is I've done some of this in lives and some of this in like a video format, but I have loved collaborating with people this year. So there have been times where I've played games with Christy, and then also I think it was December, like played games with Dia, and that was like a year ago, so that doesn't really count for 2023. But I have a video actually coming out that was a collab with Dia that's coming out as part of the 12 Days of Christmas, so you'll see that one soon. I also did some read-alongs of some spiritual nonfictions, and I want to continue doing that with lives where I had co-hosts that we were talking about the book and things like that. So I want to do more of that, like more fun collaborations, because that is just such a blast. And it's even more fun when it's live, because then you guys are there with us and talking with us, and that's really fun. So I want to do more of that, and maybe I want to do more live reading sprints. Do you guys want to see more live reading sprints from me on YouTube? Because if you do, let me know, because that is like, so that's still not a goal to be like, I'll make it a goal if you want that. I have much more goals like for my actual reading than I do for my channel. My channel is like a little bit more flexible, and so I just want to be gracious with myself, but also try to be more scheduled, if that makes sense. The only real goal for my channel, I think, is just like more games and collabs and things like that. But reading, I do have some more goals. So you will see this is coming out, but I want to have more like smaller annual TBRs. So not big lists of TBRs that have like a lot on the TBR, but I want them to be smaller, where out of these TBRs I have one book per month and it's already scheduled for that month, because I have a lot that I'm planning this year. I have a readathon of my own that I'm planning, a readathon with other people that I'm planning, one of which is gonna be a month, but one of which is gonna be like over half the year, and other readathons that are continuing that we did last year that we're gonna do again this year. So there's a lot that I am already planning. And so I want my TBRs to not be like, oh, my classics TBR, I have to think about what book I want to do this month to try to make this work. So you'll see when my classics TBR comes out, which will be tomorrow, I already have a book chosen for every single month, just to kind of take the guesswork out for me. I also, because of the out of my comfort zone nonfiction and the nonfiction I've read that I've enjoyed, I have a lot of really big chunky nonfiction, like really big nonfiction, and I want to read 2 of those this year, because I feel like that's practical and I can spread it over half the year if I need to, because I tend to read nonfiction a lot slower, takes me more time to digest the information. I've not chosen which 2 they're going to be officially. I think that one of them, I really want to read Nicholas and Alexandra by Robert K. Massey, and I actually have like his Peter the Great and his Catherine the Great too, but I read the Romanov sisters and loved it, and I really want to read Nicholas and Alexandra to get like more backstory on them as well. And I just think that that would be a really interesting one to read, but I haven't chosen the second one yet. So I'm Nicholas and Alexandra for sure, but I'm not really sure about the other ones. Maybe I'll maybe I'll put up a poll for that one when I get close to that one and let you guys help me choose, because I have a lot of great ones that are more biographies. Like I have one for Laura Ingalls Wilder, and I have one for Mary Shelley, and I have one for Frederick Douglass, and I have like a lot of presidential ones that I want to read that are really interesting sounding, and I feel like the writing style will be really good. So I don't know, we'll see what I end up doing, but I feel like that is totally reasonable for me to be like, I want to read 2 of the really big ones. So if it takes me like 6 months to read this 800-page biography or whatever, that's okay. I can like stretch it out. I feel like these last 2 goals are goals that I make every year. I want to make more room for mood reading and less FOMO, because I have serious bookish FOMO. So as a result, I want to schedule less buddy reads, which is why I am structuring my classics TBR the way that I am this year, where it is 1 book per month and it's already chosen for the month. So if people want to read those with me, it's easy for me to already know, like I'm already planning it. I'm not adding an additional one. But like I already have buddy reads like almost full for more than half of the year. And I want to keep it that way to where it's not stressful, because now I also have Patreon buddy reads and I also have an in-person book club every single month. And so those are 2 additional books that I did not have during 2022. And so I want to make sure that I'm not like stressed out and I have room to pick up books on my shelf or buy a book, or someone gives me a book and I can be like, oh, I want to read this. I want to make sure that I'm making time to be able to read other things that I want other than just the things that I've planned. And I have become much more of a planner with my reading, and I really enjoy that, and I enjoy having things scheduled out, knowing when I'm reading it, being excited about it. I'm less of a mood reader than I have ever been, because I used to exclusively be a mood reader before I started on BookTube. Believe it or not, I used to never have a TBR. I just go to the library and be like, oh, that looks interesting, pick it up, or look at my shelf and be like, why haven't I read this, and just read it. And that is not what I do now, not even a little bit. So it's kind of fun to see how I have changed as a reader over my time on BookTube. And I'm mostly okay with that, but I do want to leave myself open for like new releases, or, you know, something that I'm like, oh, I want to read that so much, or I want to participate in this readathon and not feel like I'm already scheduled to death. So I feel like this is a goal I have every year, and a lot of times I do really well for the first couple months of the year. And then I'm like, oh, I'm doing well, so I can add in a few more and I can handle that. And then it's like, oh my gosh, why do I have 8 buddy reads scheduled this month? Or something insane like that, because I don't have as much time to read as I used to. And I've said this every single year, you know, as my daughter's getting older and there's more activities and things that we're going to and things. It's not like when she was little, I had nap time and she went to bed hours before I did. And so I had hours to read after she went to bed, and now we go to bed like at the same time. And so there's definitely like less reading that's happening in the times when it used to happen. And so I just want my reading to evolve with the times, evolve with my life that I'm having right now. Because again, just like I said with BookTube, like my in real life is way more important than my reading life, and then my online life. Like my reading life is, or my actual life is way more important than those things. And so I want to be prioritizing that. So that means like re-examining how I've always done things and trying to fit things in differently in different pockets and things like that. So for 2024, I think that's going to look like scheduling a lot less buddy reads. So if we read together a lot in previous years and we don't as much this year, don't take it personally. I'm trying to find the balance, I think. And every year the balance looks a little bit different, because every year my life is just a little bit different. There are things in it that weren't in there before, and you know, stuff like that. So just, I guess, again, there's a theme throughout all of my goals of 2024 of trying to show myself more grace as I'm figuring out what the balance and what the process looks like. I feel like I need to apologize, because I think that this has been more of a chatty, like this is my mindset behind books video than actual goals, because I do feel like the way that I think about things and look about things has changed in the past like couple of years, and it's continuing to change to be a more like healthy balance of things and not this obsessive, I feel like I have to do this, I feel like I have to read this book because people are expecting me to, or because I said that I would, or, you know, just different things like that. And I think as I'm learning the balance, I'm talking with you about it. And so, yeah, I don't know, maybe balance should be my word of 2024. I don't have a word picked out yet as I'm filming this, but maybe balance should be the word as I'm like learning and giving myself grace as I'm learning the balance. So thank you if you listened to this, because I feel like it was really convoluted and all over the place with not very many like definitive actionable goals, except for probably that I want to read 2 giant nonfiction books this year. Other than that, I don't really know. But thank you for being here. If you have any thoughts on what I've shared or advice on how to find balance, I would love to hear that. And if you have any goals for 2024, I'd love to hear them. That could look like specific things, or it could be more general and broad like I am, because I think everyone has, you know, different reading goals who love to read, and maybe it's like, I want to read X amount of books. And I have really let go of, I don't care how many books that I read. I want to enjoy what I'm reading, and that's what I care about a lot more. So you may have specific, like, I want to read these many books, or I want to be outside my comfort zone in this. But I think that even people who are mood readers may have certain goals of things they might like to try, or different things like that. So I'd love to hear what goal setting looks like for you as a reader, if it's more structured, if it's more loose, or maybe you don't have any goals at all and you just kind of like go with the flow because life is crazy, or because that's just how you prefer to read. So I'd love to hear what your thought process is on that. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me and continue to see the 12 days of Christmas as we progress. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.